Hi and welcome to this podcast with me, Geeta Joshi. I am here today with Debbie Carne from AliJoe Designs. Welcome, Debbie.
Hi, Geeta. Thank you.
It's a little bit noisy where we are today, so we'll just have to try and make the best of it. Why don't you describe your work first, if people don't already know your work from Instagram?
Okay, so I source vintage plates from all the way around the UK. So I'm really looking for the one-offs or ones that people don't really want. So I'm not looking for sets or, sort of beautiful pieces. It's the ones that will be at the bottom of a pile in a charity shop or a boot sale that are dusty and grotty and sometimes chipped and sometimes damaged. And then what I do, obviously clean them up, and then I'm looking at them as a frame for my concept idea that I will then apply as a ceramic decal, which I make myself. So I source imagery that I'm allowed to use, play around with it online, and then print it off as a decal and seal it onto the plate.
So it's sourcing both the ceramics and then sourcing the images and then putting all of that together.
Putting it together.
So let's go back to where your plates and things. So do you spend a lot of time in charity shops or boot fairs, or where have you had your best haul?
Oh, difficult question. Norfolk's pretty good.
Yeah?
But literally go around the country.
I'm sure, yeah.
Wherever I am, I'm always looking into a charity shop. In fact, coming here today, I was with my husband, and he said, "Oh, look, there's a charity shop." So I haven't got time. I'm not going to walk around the plates today. But as such, I get a real buzz whenever I go into either there or a market or a jumble sale or something, because I'm tending to look for things that no one else really wants. So.
Oh, of course, yeah, because you also have that body of work, which we could talk about separately, but like you said, where they're chipped and things as well, right?
That's right, yeah.
So how did you come up with the process? Like, did you originally start off drawing on the plates, or how did you?
No, I did I was looking for something to do that was completely different from what I've been doing before, and I knew I wanted to do something creative, and I was doing different courses just as tasters to see what it might be. And I was quite interested in the idea of applying print to ceramics, and I went on a short course at, I think it was Morley College, which was all about that. And I just sort of made this leap with vintage plates and the idea of quirky imagery, which I've always loved. A bit sort of mad with the beauty of the vintage plate, just that juxtaposition. And it seemed to strike a chord when I started to do it. People liked it, and I love doing it.
And because what I've noticed is your plates are nearly always in pairs as well, right? So when you put that you've done the applied the design or the graphic on there, it just has this sort of whimsical sort of narrative. Usually there's at least a figure on there as well. One of the plates has a figure, a character. So
that's right. I mean, a lot of the concepts are based to work across the two plates. And what I love about that is quite often I mismatch the plates. I'll find a colour to link them. There'll be something about them that works together. But I just love the way, the mismatch can work with the image. So when I'm sourcing plates, I'm tending to avoid the overly fussy. It's normally with space in the middle that I know I can work with.
Yeah.
When I started, it was kind of any old vintage plate will do, because I was just so excited about the idea of it all. But as I've learned over time, not any old plate will do. I know now what I'm looking for.
Oh, really?
So it sort of narrows the search a little, makes it harder, but it's so exciting when I find the one.
And what is that you're looking for? Is that something around the type of ceramic or the type of glaze that the old plate has?
It's a bit of both, but very often it's a very simple Art Deco style design on the plate.
Which is usually borders and things,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And then you've got the middle. Sometimes there's a circle in the middle that I can play with and do something with. The square-shaped plates I love.
Yeah. Those ones that have that little sort of cut-out corners, don't they, and things,
particularly if I'm doing the pair, because then they sit very well across, on top of each other.
So when we first met, from a vague memory, actually, a long time ago, when I was teaching something at Morley, and I think one of the questions you had back then, this is going back quite a few years, was around whether your work, because I think you wanted your work to sit in the fine arts space, but when you presented it to people, they naturally wanted to use them as plates, and it was more in the, what would that be, design or craft or something like that. Yeah. So how have you resolved that over the years?
It's still a struggle. I mean, for the first time, which is very exciting, I've got an exhibition, which has kind of put me into a space I've never been in, because I've always only really sold at craft fairs. So I'm being seen as art there, which is, yes, how I like to be seen and how I make the plates as decorative pieces. But still people are saying to me, I'd love to be able to use them. So the big conundrum is, do I invest in a kiln, which actually in itself isn't an enormous investment. It's more where it takes me. Having now positioned myself and established myself doing decorative pieces, if I'm able to offer them as both, potentially that is my way forward, I think.
So the exhibition that you've got on at the moment, where is that? The Exhibitionist Hotel in Kensington?
Right. Yeah.
So there, what I've noticed there is that they've very specifically, or you have, framed the artwork, and it just reminded me of a Grayson Perry kind of thing, right? Where he's like, oh, what makes art? It's like, okay, you put it in a frame and you put it in a space that calls itself a gallery and all of that, right? So is that the next thing? Now you just have to price it as fine art and £5,000 a pair.
I don't think I'd quite be doing that. But what's interesting is that because it is presented as an exhibition, I've met, as a result of that, gallerists or people who are sort of looking to put art in their gallery who I'd never met before.
Amazing.
They were saying to me, you should be charging more for this, and in a frame it sort of puts it into a different league and so on. When I sell at markets, I always frame them, or frame some of them, because I just think it tells people how they're supposed to be used, but B, it just really helps them to stand out. So that's not new. But having this fantastic space at the hotel, it was brilliant just to be able to have fun with frames. And,
of course.
They're not all in frames, but just sort of play around with it a bit.
So as you're moving more into the fine art space, do you think that you will continue to do markets? Because that is obviously, like, artist fairs are quite different to crafts markets, where do you see your...
It is really difficult because I love some of the markets that I do. Again, it's been a journey and a learning as to which markets work best for me. And I do 4 or 5 a year.
Yeah.
I also do a pop-up shop at West Elm.
Oh,
I'm going to do another one in November, which will be the third one I've done. And that is fantastic, and it works really well. But obviously it's a very different market. So I'm struggling a little bit at the moment because this whole experience of the exhibition is one thing, but I don't want to lose sight of the loveliness and customers, etc.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? When you do markets reasonably regularly, people do come to seek you out because they know you're going to be there. They can see your new work live rather than just online.
That's right, and that's really important. I do feel that that's beginning to happen.
So do you think, because it seems to me like the obvious way for this would be to like have two bodies of work, the one that you did have at the more affordable end, the under £50 end, which you take to markets, but then something else that's either, I don't know, whatever, more complex or bigger or multiple combos of plates.
This is
move
what
to the
I'm
fine
thinking, at sort of two tiers, if you like. So this is what I'm kind of mulling over at the moment.
Yeah.
But I it's great to have had the opportunity in August, which is naturally quiet, to actually think about things and see how it's all going at the hotel. It's running in September as well, which is good. And I know I've got a few more events lined up for the rest of the year. So I think come January, I've got to make some big decisions and then, think this is my way forward and be quite clear about what it is.
But I think, I was talking to somebody else a couple of weeks ago because he was feeling a little bit disillusioned with artist fairs, even though when he's done them, he has actually made money. But it did seem for me, for that artist, that, like, fairs were the right place, but to sort of not pressure anybody, it was like, okay, we'll use the coming season to just go and explore the different the artist fairs to see that where you might want to sort of show for 2019, I guess. I think that time that people need to research the right sort of outlets for their work, really shouldn't be rushed, actually. And the coming season, if anybody's thinking about artist fairs, it's a really great time to go and research them, see, look at what the potential peer group would be and all of that, isn't it?
Yes, I think. Because there are two that I've sort of scouted in the past and mulled over, thought about applying, and it's the alternative. Is it the alternative?
The other art fair.
The other art fair, that's right. And the affordable art fair. They're two that...
So the affordable art fair is for galleries. It's not an artist's fair.
Ah, right. I didn't remember.
But the other art fair is an artist's fair, as in the artist,
yes.
buys a stand and is self-representing. Yeah.
But with that one, I think you need to have a representation with the Saatchi.
Now the other art fair has been bought out by Saatchi Online. Yes, I guess you do probably need to have a profile on the Saatchi Online gallery.
Yeah.
Which would probably then qualify you to then take part in their in-person events, because the other art fair started as its own thing, but like I said, it was bought out, and with the money from that is behind the Saatchi brand, they obviously were able to take the other art fair international as well. So but I know a lot of people that had great success at it, both in Bristol and in London, but they also now have the fairs in at least New York and a couple of other places. So it's pretty, it's very known, and it's pretty good.
Do you have a view on whether or not I should go for something like that, the other art fair?
Yeah, I think it's a really good one. Mm-hmm. I think the other one is Roy's People Art Fair.
Which one?
Roy's People Art Fair.
ROYS.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that. Yeah.
I think for Roy's People Art Fair is a really good one for you, and that takes place just up from here. We're on the South Bank recording this episode, but it's just here in the Barge House, and that is quite a young fair. Its third iteration happens in November of this year. I think they have closed applications now, but there is a waiting list. Or the next one will happen in probably spring of next year, but you could go and visit it in November. That's a really good one. They've got a lot of traction, and it's really good quality work, so I think you'd have to be a really nice fit there. But obviously, there are others as well, right?
Yes, plenty of food for thought.
So tell me about West Elm. So you had it was like a pop-up, right? Because I know West Elm do those
That's
sort of
right.
things for artists and designers.
So the original one I did was last October at the Tottenham Court Road.
Oh yeah,
which was fantastic. So I literally was able to have window space. So I had my framed pieces in the window.
Fantastic at Tottenham Court Road. What great footfall.
Yeah. So that was fantastic. And then as a result of that, they recently opened Kingston, and they invited me to do that in April. And I'm going back to do that in November.
How often do West Elm have their pop-ups?
Really regularly. They do something.
They do.
Virtually every weekend they have something going on. And they're very open and supportive of makers, people, particularly from London. And they also have a separate area, I think, in all of their stores, where they feature actual products from local artists. And because I think they've recently opened in Westfield. In
Shepherd's Bush.
Okay. Yeah, they got a big store there. So they've got the Tottenham Court Road, which is the original, the one in Kingston, which is big-ish, and it's a really nice store. And then the one in Shepherd's Bush. Yeah. I really like that. The concept that they have there, because obviously they have their furniture and all their interiors things, but across all their stores they do that, because even when you sort of look online, the US stores are having sort of guest designers and makers having their pop-ups in store and things like that, and events as well. I know I went to Emily Quinton's book launch there a few years ago. They're great. They're very and really nice store staff.
So how would you suggest somebody that might be listening to this, if they wanted to be part of one of their pop-ups, how would they go about it? Did you just reach out to them? Do they have an application process?
I don't think they have an application process. I'd go along and probably try to meet the events or the person that sort of runs them. Yeah, so just sort of go along, probably during the week. During the week, probably to have the opportunity to speak to the relevant person, but at the weekend to actually see the pop-ups and see them in action.
Yeah, I think it's what we were just saying about fairs. It's really good to actually go and research beforehand.
That's right.
What else did I want to ask you about? So let's move back to your designs. Where do you source your imagery, or what inspires that? Because they seem to be images that I've often seen before, because they come from image libraries.
Yeah, Fornasetti is a big inspiration for me. I've always absolutely loved his work, and so do many others. And the iconic Lina Cavalieri that so many people have done so many things with. I'm afraid I couldn't resist, so I'm another one jumping on that bandwagon.
But also, even he was using these royalty-free images, right?
Exactly.
People look at that and go, oh, Fornasetti, but it's like it wasn't actually his drawing.
Yeah, no, that's right. And it's her deadpan face. I found other faces, Victorian faces or other faces, and there's a man whose face I love. Again, very deadpan, and I quite often and use him as well. But it's graphics libraries. I mean, I sort of got membership of various places, and it's taken ages to build it up. But and every now and again I'll go on and sort of start to look. And sometimes I think about an idea, and then I look for the image. Other times I see the image and I think
that inspires the plate. Yeah. Oh, nice.
And the collage as well is quite important to actually sort of manipulate a bit and play around. And I love collage, and I love the idea of working with collage on the plate.
Have you always liked vintage images? I mean, was that always, what sort of work did you produce before, or what were you dabbling in before you sort of really settled on this style that you've now developed?
When I was exploring opportunities and sort of things that I might do, creative ideas, I did decoupage with, I've always loved ephemera. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Ephemera, yeah.
So old ads and pieces of junk material, junk leaflets and things. And I played around a lot with decoupage using those. So I got these big bamboo platters from IKEA, and I made these big sort of dishes with that, which I loved, but they weren't very commercial, and each one took far too long to make for it to be sort of commercial, and you couldn't really use them for much. So it was the move from that then to the course that I did, and then the idea of the vintage images. And I'm still, the idea of actually applying some of those, taking photos of some of the materials that I used to use and putting them on plates. I play around with a bit to see what I might come up with. Because that is quite interesting, I think, just the old sort of imagery and what you can do with it.
And then before that, did you do any other formal training in art or design or anything like that?
No.
Just playing around and enjoying it and knowing that was...
I've come from nowhere. No, I mean, I've always had this creative streak in me, but I've always been, prior to now, in a very sort of corporate world.
Oh, really?
Market research and marketing and advertising is what I used to do.
So do you get that imposter syndrome?
Oh, totally.
Really? Oh, no.
Yeah. And it's not good, and I try to fight it. But then I tell myself that you can be creative without being an artist, and that's what I am. So I sort of stick with that. And there's no training at all, apart from these little courses I've done, which obviously help. But there's no, been to art school.
But they're technical anyway, aren't they? I mean, they're not, it is, right? We all have to sort of channel our creativity in different things, whether it's podcasts and conversations and, but other people do it in website design and designing apps or whatever it is.
That's right.
Suddenly it's when it's in the art space, people feel like, well, firstly, obviously anybody can do it, but when somebody without formal training comes along, they're battling their own...
Demons.
Like demons with it. Yeah, it's quite a thing.
Yeah. No, that's
gosh.
Right. It is. But then I guess I've always had it, whatever I've done. Most, sadly, women in particular do suffer from it. And you just have to deal with it and get on. And it's not like anyone has really said it to me. Occasionally you get the comments on Instagram or wherever, and you just think, well, okay.
Oh, wow. That's mean if they're doing that on there, but I guess it happens. So what are the dates for the exhibition? Tell us.
So it's running now until the 25th of September, and it's anytime, free, anybody can go. And I know kids have loved it as well as adults, because it's just sort of...
And where can people find you online?
AliJoeDesigns.com, or at AliJoe Designs is my Instagram handle.
Perfect. And what did you say is your next place that people can see you live?
So the next...
Other than the exhibition, obviously.
Other than the exhibition. The next one is the weekend of the 2nd and 3rd of November, with 2nd and 3rd or 3rd and 4th, Handmade in Highgate, which is twice a year I do that. It's a lovely event, and it's up at the Highgate Literary and Scientific Institute in Pond Square. So I'll be there for that weekend, and then it's the West Elm pop-up on the 17th and 18th of November.
Brilliant. So thank you, Debbie, so much for coming on the podcast. It's been super talking to you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me.
I look forward to seeing more of your work online.